Hi everyone, let's talk about minor scales. In the previous episode, which is linked either here or in the description, we talked about major scales. So now let's move on to their darker, sadder, more melancholy siblings. So remember how we constructed major scales. We used the following pattern: whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So if we start on C, we get the C major scale. So that's C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, and then C again. Now, prepare to have your mind blown, because it turns out that in every major scale, there's also a minor scale hiding in plain sight. Let's start by adding another octave to our C major scale. We already have the C, so let's add D, E, E, F, G, A, B, and another C. So now, instead of starting on the C note, we're going to start on the first A note, and we're going to play every note up until the next A. That's an A minor scale. So the A minor scale contains exactly the same notes as the C major scale. So if we have a C major scale, we can just either walk down 2 steps of the scale to get to an A, or we can walk up 6 steps to get to an A. So the way we refer to this relationship is that the A minor scale is the relative minor of C major, and the other way around. C major is the relative major of A minor. Now this works for every other major and minor scale as well. Let's look at the F major scale. We start in F, go a whole step to G, and a whole step to A, half step to B flat, whole step to C, whole step to D, whole step to E, and finally a half step back to F. Now let's walk up to the 6th note of the F major scale. F, G, A, B flat, C, D. So if we play the notes from D up to the next D, that's a D minor scale. Again, this works for any major scale, and this table shows how all the major and minor scales are related. So as we've already seen, the C and A minor scales contain the same notes, as do, for instance, D and B minor, F and D minor, or A and F sharp minor. Okay, so that covers one of the 2 important relationships between major and minor scales: relative scales. This is where they contain the same notes, but start on different ones. The other one is called parallel scales. In this case, both scales start on the same note, but some of the notes are different. First, let's notice the pattern of half and whole steps in the A minor scale. We have whole, half, whole, half, whole. Now, let's see what happens if we start on the C note and apply the same pattern. So if we apply the pattern starting on C, we get C, then a whole step up to D, but now, instead of going another whole step as we would with a major scale, we go a half step up to E flat, then a whole step up to F, another whole step up to G, a half step up to A flat, a whole step to B flat, and finally a whole step back to C. So if we now compare the C minor scale to the C major one, we can see that there are 3 notes that are different. An E natural is flattened a half step down to an E flat, making the interval a minor third. The next different note is the 6th note of the scale. In C major, it's an A, which is a major 6 above the C. In the minor scale, it's flattened to an A flat, making it a minor 6th. Finally, the 7th note of the scale is also flattened. In C major, it's a B natural, which is a major 7th above the C, and in minor, it becomes a B flat, a minor 7th above C. It's these 3 notes that make all the difference in the vibe of minor compared to major. Let's listen to the C major scale. And now, C minor. Now, a disclaimer that this is all subjective to some extent and culturally conditioned, but a common stereotype is that major sounds happy and minor sounds sad. So just like a major scale is all we need to improvise over a piece of music in a major key, a minor scale is all we need in a minor key. I'm sure this raises a few questions. It sure did for me when I first encountered this relationship. I didn't understand why we needed two names for exactly the same set of notes. And there are good reasons for this. It's because C major feels different than A minor. And that's because we have a different sense of what home is. In C major, the C note feels like home, and in A minor, the A note feels like home. And this is often established by which chord and which notes a song starts with. I'm going to go into a lot more detail on this in future videos, but for now, just trust me that this isn't completely arbitrary or subjective. If you get 10 people who understand and have internalized the stuff, you present them with the same piece of music and ask them, is this C major or A minor? They're all going to say the same thing, guaranteed. Okay, that's all for this time. Next time, we'll be talking about keys and chords. Subscribe if you haven't already.